Okay. Welcome back to Beyond the Roar, episode 4, where we go deeper than the game and talk about the mindset, moments, and stories that really shape athletes today. I'm your host, Tryniti Diaz.
I'm Ali Christensen.
I'm Kendall Lampman.
I'm Paige Burton.
I'm Coral Detwiller.
I'm Jahveya Davis.
Welcome back. Today, we'll be talking about getting into something that every athlete has felt at least once in their experience, but it's really hard to explain, and that's the flow state. You know that feeling when everything just clicks, you're not overthinking, you're not stressed, you're just in it, playing free, reacting naturally, and everything feels almost automatic. So I'm going to introduce to you guys a good friend of mine and one of my own teammates, Ryan Cummings.
Hi, my name is Ryan Cummings. I am a cheerleader at Clemson University. I'm also a senior. I have been a cheerleader for the past 18, going on 19 years. I grew up doing competitive cheerleading, so I've had a lot of experience performing and reaching the flow state that we're going to talk about. So I can't wait to hear the questions that you guys have to ask.
I guess I'll just start off with the first question that came to my mind is what's your pre-competition or pre-game routine that really helps you get locked in and into a flow state? And is there anything specific that's non-negotiable for you?
So I would say that I'm a pretty superstitious person and routine is super important for me. So waking up, having a good breakfast, and having a calm time to get ready is super important for me to be able to feel like I can really lock in. If I feel rushed or like I'm missing something or just like frantic, I feel like I'm more focused on that than the job at hand. So I would say just making sure I stick to my daily routine whenever it's a competition day to make sure that I can really focus on what I'm about to do.
Going off of that, how important would you say that external factors like other environments or crowds help you enter flow state? And I guess how does that differ when you're home or away?
That's a good question. I would say it would kind of differ because it makes me a little bit more excited. I feel like you get more of that adrenaline feeling. So whenever we're at a competition, you get like the experience of all of the other cheerleaders being there excited to see each other, watch each other and perform. But compared to being at home, you're kind of more focused on the job at hand, getting things done and practicing to compete and feel that feeling.
And then talking about the adrenaline that goes through your head, how do you block out the distractions when everything around you is so intense?
I would just say I trust my training. So I know that no matter what's going on, we were trained to do what we're about to do. And you kind of have to trust yourself as well. You know that you can get through just about anything. So I would just say trust is the number one thing when there's distractions going on. So I know that I can really lock in and just like tune the world out.
Another question about your competitions and stuff, and I don't know if this is dumb, but do you have a different routine for pre-game day as opposed to a competition? Because you guys cheer at both games and competitions. Is there one that's more intense or stressful for you?
I would definitely say competition is way more stressful. Game day, I would say, is more fun. We get ready to be in front of a crowd and cheer on football, basketball, gymnastics, all of the above. But I feel like when we're at competition, it's all about us. We're here for each other, and we practice the whole year for this, and nobody really knows. And it's like its own little world. So I would say that it's definitely more intense going to a competition and getting ready for that than it is for a game day.
My question for you is because like I have an answer, but at practice, do you think you have a different flow state than you do at competition wise?
It depends. I would say the goal is to have the same flow state because you want to be able to have the same nerves and confidence that you do at practice at competition. But I would say that flow state at competition is different because you have so much joy about being there and finally getting the chance to compete rather than being at practice. It's just rep after rep and change after change. And it's just very different. But I would say they're similar, but they're not completely
Yeah.
the same.
I was gonna say like I tend to feel like I have to be like enter a deeper flow state at competition than practice
I would agree.
because there's so many more factors. So I'm like, okay, you have to lock in. Like there's way more going on.
Yeah, and
Compared to
it
practice, you're
matters
just
more.
more comfortable.
Yeah, it matters way more.
Routine that you really love and enjoy doing versus one that maybe new or you don't like as much how does that affect your flow state and getting into all of that?
That's a good question. I would say having a routine that you love honestly comes from being more confident in the routine and being more comfortable in what you're doing. That makes flow state much easier and it makes you more excited to do it rather than having a routine that you're nervous about or you have skills that you're kind of iffy about and you don't really feel that great going into it. I feel like it's harder to focus because you're worried about the what ifs and what if this falls? What if I mess up? What if this happens? So that makes it a lot harder to focus and enter a flow state because you're just so nervous about what you're about to do.
Have you ever tried to do something new, like that's unexpected in your routine that has helped you get more into a flow state or like surprise you, like, wow, that really worked?
Um, Sometimes, gosh, how I need to figure out how to word this. I would say sometimes whenever I try to reach a flow state, I kind of like isolate myself and I'm like, I have to really stay in my head. I have to be alone in this and like really focus. But I feel like as I've gotten more comfortable in the sport, I find myself more calm whenever I'm dancing or doing these things and not thinking about it and taking pictures with my friends and just kind of enjoying the environment around me rather than just being like, I have to focus. I think that makes it way more enjoyable and it makes it easier to reach a flow state for sure.
Kind of like going based off of that, but kind of pivoting a little bit. When developing into your sport, like obviously growing up, you probably did cheer and of things of that sort. What helped you like gain your routine to as it got more serious? Because obviously the sport gets more serious as you get older. So what
Mhm.
helped you develop that routine of flow state, and what steps did you take to like focus on your craft?
So I would say experience definitely helps for sure. When you're doing this from such a young age, you just kind of get used to it and you kind of realize your potential and you grow your self-confidence, but also challenging yourself doing skills that I perform that I'm not comfortable with or that are really difficult or like trying new things that my coaches ask. I feel like that really helps me grow as an athlete. In that way, whenever I'm asked to do something, I know I can do it and it makes me calmer. And I would just say reaching a flow state now is way different than before because like you kind of enjoy it more. Like I've had so much experience. I love the sport and it's coming to an end. I'm a senior now, so it's just like you kind of just have no choice but to just live in the moment is kind of like a flow state of mine.
Um, Going off of that, like obviously we can't not bring it up, but when you like when you were younger, like growing up in the sport, like your narrative, like I grew up in the sport, we didn't know each other, but like you was very like the narrative like Ryan CEA, like you were that girl in cheerleading. Like, do you think it like disrupted your flow state at all? Because like to me, like growing up in cheerleading, if someone like asked me for a photo, but if I'm on the way to like the warm up room, I'm like now spazzed out because I'm like, wait, hold on. You just ruined my like routine of like how I get to warm up. So I feel like this is something we like definitely have to talk about because like do you ever feel like you being the person you were in cheerleading and still are now like ever disrupts that state for you?
Um, I'm gonna try and answer this short and simple, but don't let me ramble on. So I would say it disrupts it in a way that I wouldn't say it like throws me off with my routine. I would say more so it adds a lot of pressure. People look up to you, people know who you are, they're watching every move that you do. Like if you make a mistake, everybody's gonna know about it.
Twitter.
Like social media is going to tweet about you. Like it's just like this background noise that you hear, so that definitely interrupts your flow state. But what happened to me happened like all of the attention and the support from all of these other athletes happened to me at such a young age. I think I grew to appreciate it, and as you get older you kind of realize like you made an impact on people, so I that gives me another sense of confidence because I'm like I must be doing something right if people can look up to me and they tell me like you're the reason I cheer and stuff like that. Like it's definitely crazy to think about like I'm just a normal random person and these people know who I am and they're like, "Oh my gosh, like you're the reason I know like I do cheerleading." And I think that's incredible and it makes me so happy and it gives me a sense of confidence when I walk on the floor like there's more people out there than support me than don't support me and are
Yeah.
preying on my downfall in a way. So I think that that definitely helps me stay grounded and know that people are supporting me, looking up to me. And also, if I do make a mistake, I'm also human, and that shows them as well
Yeah.
that I'm a human being and I mess up too. So it makes them feel better.
I honestly feel like it was like a blessing in disguise because you learn how to like appreciate, like you were so young when it happened. So
Yeah.
it like made you appreciate the sport. And I feel
Yeah.
like it probably created mental toughness on like how to like react to everything and kind of like be able to get into your flow state more.
Yeah, I definitely have to be a lot tougher.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Another question going up that. No, I think that's great. I like that you have that inspiration for young girls and going into the sport. My next question is, as you are an advocate for these young girls, what advice would you give them going into like growing into their sport and gaining their routine to get into flow state?
I feel like I've said the word confidence a lot, but that's like the number one word that comes to my brain. I think as a younger kid, I struggled a lot with self-confidence. I struggled a lot with in cheerleading, we call it mental blocks, like tumbling, you can't throw your skills, you just feel so defeated. And I feel like once I kind of snapped into it's me versus me. Like, don't listen to the outside noise. Like, I feel like aspiring cheerleaders and young cheerleaders really want to impress others and do things for other people. But once you start doing it for yourself and you have self-confidence and you do it because you love it, not because you have to do it, I think that that makes the biggest difference in the world because once I realized, like, wow, I really love this sport, it just completely changed the game for me. And I think if younger athletes really just ask themselves, why am I doing this and why do I love this sport? I think that that is a great way to enter flow state because you know why you're actually participating and you're competing and doing all of these things. And you're not just doing it because you have to.
And then I know you mentioned pressure before, so I just wanted to ask you, do you think that pressure helps you or does it hurt you?
If you were asking like 15-year-old me, I would say it hurt me a lot. I think that I went onto the floor thinking, what if I messed up and what are people going to say about me and who am I going to disappoint? My coach is going to scream at me, like I'm going to get in so much trouble. But it just, you learn over time, you make mistakes. Everybody's a human being. You watch cheerleaders compete every single day and they all make mistakes. And like, it's such a small part of like it's such a small part of our lives and we all think that it's the biggest deal in the world because like it's cheerleading has done it forever, so I think that the pressure, honestly, to me it makes me feel like we're doing something right. If you have the pressure to go on the stage and do the absolute best that you can, you're doing something right and you're doing hard skills, and it means that your coach believed in you enough to put the pressure on you to compete these things because she knew or he or she knew that you could do it. So I think in a way it can help, but back then it definitely did hurt a little.
And then are there like with your routine and everything, I know you said that you have a very like tight schedule when you wake up, you have to eat a good breakfast and everything. But right before your routine, I was wondering if there's any teammates, coaches, or like in you have influences in your life that help you get locked in or reach that flow state that you have to have that before you compete.
I think for performing, coaches can be hit or miss. I think that if you have the right coach that can handle the pressure, they can really help you hit flow state. But I think for me as an athlete, I would say my teammates are the number one people who do that. Like we walk around, we just like all we have to do is like give each other a handshake, like a tap on the back, be like, we can do this. And I think that really just like reminds you you are not alone on the mat. We're all about to go do this. And honestly, whenever I'm backstage and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous, I literally just look at my teammate. I'm like, they're just as nervous as I am. It's okay. So I think just like being able to lock in with your teammates and know that you're doing it for each other helps you reach the flow state for sure. And I think that's so important to have that kind of relationship with your teammates.
Yeah, going off going off of that, like has there any been like coaches or like would you say there's any coaches or teammates or even like maybe family or anything that's like helped you understand how to get into a flow state or maybe like helped you create what helped you the most? Like, hey Ryan, like I like your old coach, like, hey, like I see this helped you on this day of like you should keep this in your routine, or do you feel like you've been able to just like do it all by yourself?
Oh, definitely not all by myself. I've had a lot of support throughout my life that I'm extremely grateful for. And I would say my parents as the number one support, being able to support me and show up for me definitely helps me reach the flow state, knowing that they're out there watching me. I've Out of all of the, I guess, 19 years that I've competed, I've only competed without my parents once. And that definitely just helps me like be grounded. But I have a lot of questions about past coaches. And I always say my old competitive coach, his name was Darnell. He was the rock in my entire life for competitive cheerleading. He made me feel more confident than any other coach has ever made me feel. He supported all of his athletes to each their own. And I would just say that those kinds of coaches that you have in your lifetime, no matter the sport, if it's cheerleading, soccer, football, whatever, I think having that kind of coach that you know supports you no matter what definitely helps you reach a flow state because you want to feel supported and you want to feel like somebody believes in you other than yourself.
Hey. Yeah. Okay, what's that?
Uh, Thank you guys so much for tuning in to our last episode of Beyond the Roar. It's been a great 4 episodes and good season with a whole bunch of different types of people and backgrounds. And we appreciate the support. And thank you, Ryan, for joining us today. It was super fun.
I'm so glad I could be on your last episode. That's so
Thank
exciting.
you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's great to hear from Ryan about her experience getting into the flow state with college cheerleading. And to build off of that, we just each wanted to talk about our experience in sports we've played in the past and just in our daily routines and what we do to kind of focus and get into a flow state of our own. So I guess I can start off for me personally. In high school, my main sport, I played soccer and I ran track, but I think like getting into a flow state for me was a little more applicable for track just because it's an individual sport and it like was really important for me to be mentally focused. So I would say that I like loved being around my teammates. Like practices were always so much fun, but before meets, I kind of prioritized just like listening to music, being on my own, and just trying to focus because it was really important for me to have like a good mentality and to not be distracted going into a race. And then afterwards, I was able to kind of relax again. But for me, I thrived off of just like talking to my coach, but not really doing anything aside from that, just having like focus on the race.
Um, I like so I still do cheerleading and I did cheerleading in the past, but I think something that's like been my flow state for years that I've gotten to notice as like I guess the sport has kind of gotten harder for me as I gotten older is that like I like to be very social like in the morning and kind of think about I will say this is like the advantage of cheerleading. Like we don't have like a strict schedule when we wake up. Like it's kind of like you can like kind of be like a non-athlete in the morning. So I kind of like to treat like my morning like my regular day-to-day schedule so I don't feel so like different and stressed. And then when it comes to like that time that we meet, like from there, that's like when I'm in complete lockdown mode and I'm very like still social, still there for my teammates, but then I'm kind of like more like I'm gonna be within myself. And then like right before I get out on stage, I'm like super isolated from everyone. And I just kind of like try to like talk to myself. And I probably look like a nervous wreck because I'm a pacer. But as I pace, I like talk to myself and kind of just like really like breathe. And I probably look like a nervous wreck, but I feel so calm. So, and then I kind of just like make sure when I wave, I like when I go out there and like wave, I like to take like a 3 breaths in and out on stage, and I'm like, all right, you're set.
And then I for in high school I played soccer and I played softball, and I feel like those are two very different sports. So I had two very different flow states, and I even also had a flow state for I think preseason for soccer for high school because that was just so much training that they had us do and so many tests and everything. And I had a routine. I would wake up, I'd drink at least 3 big jugs of water before preseason because it gets hot on the turf and stuff. And then I'd also have I remember this specifically. I had a chicken Caesar wrap every day for lunch, and I'd let it digest and everything before I ran. And then I'd also listen to music before I had to like do the tests and everything. And then for like soccer games, I would run with my teammates and just try and talk to them about like what how to prepare ourselves for the game and whatever. But for softball, it's like completely different for me. Like yeah, I would listen to music, but I have a routine. Every time I would get in the box, I'd have to shift dirt all like in the box and everything. I'd line up my bat. Like when I was throwing, I had to throw with my partner, or else I wouldn't be like locked in that mindset. So there was just, I'm a very OCD routine person. So there were a lot of things to get me into that flow state. But like if I was in that flow state at softball, like I have a good day the entire day. Like if my bat was hot, my bat was hot. And that's basically how my flow state was like throughout.
I played lacrosse in high school, and to enter the flow state, my coach would have us do box breathing. So we would say or start in our locker room, and we would all like face the wall. And it was kind of like meditation. Like she would set a timer and told you to visualize what you see for yourself for the game, or even like for the future, like even thinking ahead to like tournament time or like championship. So I feel like having that moment with yourself, like before a game, really helped me enter a flow state before like we would walk out in twos and the music would be going, and that's when like you start getting super hype. And I like what you said, Kendall, about like doing warm-ups with like one specific partner. I was a defender, so like being with my defense. Yeah, I feel like that was how I entered flow state personally, and then also being surrounded by my teammates also helped me lock in.
For me, I played football, basketball, and track in high school, and I would say each sport definitely had a different like like I had to shift my mindset for each sport differently. I would say for football, it was definitely like for me entering my flow state, like going back to what Ryan was saying, like being confident and just really streamlining what you would like to do to showcase like your talent and everything. But I would say like for that, I would just have to shift my mindset because it was a lot of alone time because I was the only girl on the team. So I would do a lot of things in the locker room by myself. So like not having that same team energy, I would have to like make my own energy in a way. So I would say for that, I would just like blast out of music, kind of I would I know you're not supposed to be on your phone, but I would text my friends prior to the game because like they're not like with me. I'm just like by myself in the locker room. So I would say that helped me into my flow state. And then for basketball, it was a team environment, a lot of music, a lot of jokes going around, and then focusing when we hit the court, doing our drills and everything. And then for track, again, it's a team environment, but also a different lock-in with like getting once I sit down on the track, like I'm locked in and focused on just like making my times. So yeah.
In high school, I competitively ski raced and I also played soccer year round, like my whole entire life. But like soccer was like my main sport through all of it. And I think like in the mornings, I'd always start out by like myself and like I'd kind of just like be by myself. But I feel like that's when like a lot of my nerves would build. And then our team always had time in the locker room ourselves before like our coach came in and everything. And I think like the biggest part of like me getting ready to play in a game and like letting the nerves go was just like being in the locker room, like blasting music with my team and just like all of us kind of just like seeing how everyone also was nervous and how we were all like there for each other and just like knowing like your team's got your back no matter if you like fall, you mess up or whatever. So I think that was like the biggest part that really like got me ready, like, okay, like we're ready to do this.
Okay, I'll do like I'm gonna do another outro really quick, and then I think we'll be good. No, I don't need to. Okay. Uh, Thanks everyone for sharing their flow states and their personal like preference on their own like athletic days. I will say that like a common takeaway is like you're in your own state, but like being surrounded by teammates or good coaching or kind of good habits creates that good like story and narrative when going into your game days. So flow state is definitely important and it's something that people don't understand, but like when you're in it, like you are in it and you probably like black out because it's like it kind of feels like a routine, but it's probably the best state to be in as an athlete because you probably feel the most confidence, like we talked about with Ryan, like that's a big deal. So we hope you enjoyed today's episode and signing out Beyond the Roar.
Bye.
Bye.